Good evening, good afternoon to everybody. We have a very special lesson today because we're going to talk about maybe one of the most important topics in football, but for sure in Chinese football. We're going to talk about the one against one, but not only the one against one offensive, but also defensive. I just make the link with the lesson before, the deductive methodology. There we saw that we have to take a look at our own game. To improve yourself as a coach and your team, you need to watch high-level games. And there you take out the positive things and you take out the challenges. To do that, you have the 4 pillars: technical, tactical, mental, physical. So we are like a doctor, a patient. And the patient is coming to you and he say, okay, I have pain there and there. And you say, okay, I have the solution. Today, we're going to search for solutions for Chinese football. And we will make some strange links to let you think about it. So, we will also show a training that is linked, but not directly to this topic. We are working with the tactical principles of the red print. As warming up, we will show, first of all, some footage of a very known Chinese player, Wu Lei. Afterwards, I will tell you why. Please have a look. What did you saw? You saw a player that is very fast with the ball, that is going 1 against 1 to his defensive player, to the defender, and with the good movement, he dribbled this defender. What you see is that the other team have enough defenders, but you see that in a 1 against 1 situation, you can suddenly create 1 man more, 2 against 1, 3 against 1, 3 against 2, and so on. Only with this picture, what you see now, I can make for sure 10 to 20 trainings. How? By deduction methodology. All the questions like why, and so on, and so on, and so on. These questions you always need to ask. If I make a projection to this part, you see that Wu Lei have the ball. He is going 1 against 1 against defender, and the defender already have a bad body position. You see that this player is totally out of position, and here it is 2 against 2. The goalkeeper have a very good position and is focused on the 1 against 1 to this defender. So you see a pretty compact block, but he is not aligned, and you see here a 1 against 1 on the side of the dangerous box. And now you will see the quality of Wu Lei in the 1 against 1. And this is the basic topic for Chinese football. You can have a look. He do a fantastic movement. He just missed the final touch and he hits the post. But here we have one of the biggest problems for me, or not a problem, one of the biggest challenges in Chinese football. For me, if I look, I've been looking to games from 7 years old and older. I see that coaches don't stimulate enough the offensive and defensive 1 against 1. What you see here is that he do a fantastic movement, but he is away from this defender, and then he has to go directly inside. By going outside too much to here, the defenders can come back, otherwise he can score here, or they can make a penalty. But by going too far here, his possibilities are reduced. This control is a very important control. You have to cut inside. If he cut inside, the angle is better, then maybe they have to make a mistake, they can have penalty. And just by this control after the dribble, this is all about details in modern top football. We show it again. So very good, again good. And then this touch is not good enough. It is all about details in the 1 against 1. Next picture is a picture from a player I know very well. It's, I think, Eden Hazard. Look to the difference in the dribble. We show again from the beginning, and you can compare. You see that the defense is good. They are in block. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players close to each other with not too much distance. But still, Eden Hazard is going 1 against 1 because he is not afraid. He has been taught from the beginning to go 1 against 1. So have a look further. He's doing a great dribble. And here, stop. Here you see the difference. He's going inside with his touch. So his angle is much better. Here you see he's going inside, more inside. And at the right moment, he is hitting. If you compare both dribbles, you will see that after his dribble, he is cutting inside. He uses his left arm to protect against the defender, and he's shooting at the right moment when the goalkeeper is doing his step. So what we wanted to show is this last detail of the touch after the dribble is the detail that makes the difference between scoring and not scoring. So we can learn 2 things here. First thing, you need to dare to dribble 1 against 1. Second thing, if you play against a very close defense, a very block, you need to do 1 against 1, defensive and offensive. But when Eden Hazard was 6 years old, all the coaches, they stimulate him to dribble, to dare. If he loses the ball, it's no problem. If we can change this in Chinese football, not to kill our players when they dribble, not to kill them when they don't defend good, but to stimulate them, we do a fantastic move for the future of Chinese football and for the future of China. So we go now in our tactical module, and Roy will explain the 2 next slides.
As you all know, we had the player education module and the coach education module. In this module, we go more into detail in all the tactical principles and how the game is built up. In order to deduct the game, we use analysis based on the video clips your analyst or yourself clipped during the game. And in order to know which player profile you need in your team, you have the individual scouting. And to adapt your tactics to your opponent, you also have the game scouting of the opponent. So today we will start with the principles. But first we have a question on the introduction Chris gave just now.
This is something that you have to think about for the next lesson. Give us 5 reasons why the 1 against 1 is the base of football, and why is this specifically case in China. If you can answer this, you have a real fundamental to change Chinese football.
So to start the tactical module, I think everybody now already knows this slide. So as Chris explained in the introduction, we will start with a 1v1 in order to lay the base, the fundamentals for a Chinese player to add more tactical behavior and principles in his education.
If you look to the 1 against 1, we will go now really in detail with a short story to tell you why the 1 against 1 is important in the building up from phase 1 until phase 5. As you all know, we start with this 2 against 2, 1 against 1, short distance, a lot of duels, show that you can attack and show that you can defend. This is phase number 1 and phase number 2 in our principles. Then we go to the next step, and what do you see? The field is bigger, more players, and we start to have the first triangles and the first diamond. I refer again to Atalanta Bergamo, what we showed, where they are now one of the top teams, and they really show how you can play with this diamond and with the connecting players. As you all know, you have 2 ears, so you need to have left diamond and right diamond. That's what women want. But in football it means you have more players, more possibilities to play. You will see the double diamond, you will see the player in the middle. So we go step by step to the real football game, and we go to phase number 4. But if you want to play 11 against 11, you need more space, and you go to phase number 5. So you see the field becomes bigger, there is more space. Then you see we don't have enough players. If we put them from 8 against 8 into 11 against 11, we have this possible formation. But there you see, if you count well, in this zone we miss players, and also there we miss a player. If we want to be complete, you need to have these players to play the system like 4-3-3 with a lot of triangles. As you see here, these triangles are important to have the right communication between every key player in our team. So this is a perfect education model. But what does it mean? It doesn't mean that you always have to play like this. You only have to know the principles: time, space, creativity, effective technique.
The slide here, you will see all different formations you can use with your players in the 11v11. But if you break the football game down, then you have, like Chris said, the animation and the organization of a team. And in any form of animation, you always start with a 1v1 to create an advantage over your opponent. So the message we want to give you in this slide is not that you need to know several formations. The message is that you need to create a numerical advantage on the side of the pitch where you have the ball against your opponent.
So if you know animation, organization and transition, you know everything about the principles of football and the principles of the red print. So with one simple touch, I can play 4-4-2 with the same principles and with a diamond in the midfield. I remember the course of Cfa Jankovic this week, where they show that some teams in defensive side are using 4-4-2, offensive 4-3-3, as Spain has been doing. You also can change this in a very easy way with 4-2-3-1, with 2 defensive midfielders and an opposite triangle in the midfield. But you can also go and play with 3 defenders, 2 defensive midfield players, 3 what we call pockets, and 2 strikers. And with one simple touch, you can easily change to 3 defenders, 1 holding midfielder, 3 offensive midfielders, and 3 strikers. So we call this 1-3-4-3. And then again we have our questions. First question: why is there a logical building up in our games? Second question: is this also the case in China? And 3, if not, why not? Again, the question why. And to show this, we will show you a complete training example. And what is the topic of this training? It's about a dynamic compact block and transition. And then you can think, where is the link to the 1-against-1? So, as you see on the top, we will use the deduction methodology with 4 facts: tactical, technical, physical, and mental. But why did we took this training? Because you saw in the first 2 clips that the opponents had a dynamic compact block, that they tried to do the transition, but
福如小乔，赏赐于功臣吧。主公，子龙不服，擂台比武吧。
诺。赵云将军，加油！
兄弟们，这个是全新玩法的高爆率版本，我们先舔个新手补给包啊，竟然是泯灭套装，相当给力。 打起怪来竟然刀刀5000万切割，还附带毒素效果，而且这个符新手上线1元顶赞。
That they were killed by a good 1-against-1. So the main topic is the dynamic compact block and transition, but never forget that you have to coach on the 1-against-1 to show them that this is the key to open up the magic box of football. But in football, you not only have to attack, you also have to defend. And to defend, you can do it as before, everywhere on the field, 1-against-1. But in modern football, we saw playing in zone, defending in zone, attacking in zone is more important than just to defend 1-against-1. And only one sentence you have to remember. In football, there is only one ball. So offensively, defensively, in transition, you have to position yourself regarding to the ball. But when you have the ball, you need to do something with it. And that's what we're going to show now in this training. In the first clip, we will show you something. You look at it, afterwards I will give the comment. It was a game where we've been live. It was Beijing Huan against Shandong Luneng. And you will see what's happening. Please have a look to the distance between the defenders and the strikers. And if you look to this, you will see what will happen. Okay, now I show you the second clip. It's a game, Japan against Korea for the World Championship -21 or -20. Look to the distance of the white team. Look to the 1-against-1 of the blue team. Look again. Look to the skills. If you compare both games, these are young players. First game were grown-up players from our CSL. If you look to the team of Korea, they are defending really as a block with no space between, but even then, the Japanese players are good 1-against-1 to solve this. In the first game between Beijing Huan and Shandong Luneng, you see that the distances are much further away than here. You see it very, very good over here. Look to the block, look to the challenge. Far, okay, but directly pressure. Again, look to the technique in the 1-against-1. Pace, but still, they can do a good shot. Our theme from today is dynamic block transition. And we will select now some principles out of our dashboard. When you look to the dashboard of our tactics in the red print. First of all, to be compact to reduce the space. How do you defend the spaces? By closing the passing line, by diagonal coverage and closing the center. What are the three most important parameters for the dynamic compact block? One, you need to have this pumping movement up, down, left, right. Second, most important one, the distance between the players in the zone need to be between between 12 and 15 meters to be compact. Not only the distance in one horizontal line, but also the distance between the three lines, the defensive line, the midfield line, and the striker or the forward line. It is all about tactics, but in tactics you need to communicate with each other. Communication between the lines in defense and between the lines defense, midfield, attack. Communication between two players, let's say defensive midfield player and one central defender, but also communication between the triangles, what you see or what you saw 5 minutes ago. You have two kinds of triangle. You have an offensive triangle with two players in front. You have a defensive triangle with two players on the base of the triangle. To defend and to attack, you need hard and smart running. You need high intensity sprints. And at the moment you have the ball, you need to play your first ball vertical and safe. So if not possible vertical, you need to play safe. You have the ball, you play to the same color. If you have the ball and it's not possible to play directly vertical, you need to be safe and to keep ball possession. But if you can, you need to play to the deepest player and try to find the third man, as we saw in the example of Atalanta Bergamo. And which players you will find? You will find the players in the half spaces by using the bypass. And the bypass you will also find in FIFA. The bypass is the only pass that breaks two lines. It's the same example as some people have problems with their heart. They make a new bypass with the veins. But we don't talk only about tactics in the red print, we also speak about techniques as we showed 2 days ago. In defending, you can use different methods. First, you have the duel. You need to have a duel, otherwise you cannot defend. But in a duel, the basic is to take away the opponent with your shoulder and pushing off the ball from him. But you can also tackle. But if you tackle, you have to stay on your feet. That's important, that you don't go down, because when you're down, you don't have the ball, you're out. You have 4 kinds of tackles. You have the slide tackle from behind, the front slide tackle, the side slide tackle, and the slide tackle where you push away from the opponent. And I prefer this is interception. You can knock the ball away, you can kick the ball away, you can intercept after a bounce, and so on and so on. But in our training, I will go to all the details of interception. So, we took out all the principles, we know what we are going to train, we know why and so on, and now we go to the training. First, as I told you before, we start with a good pre-warming up. The pre-warming up is based on, as Roy has been explained 2 days ago, on tests. And in this test, we focus on 2 topics. First topic is your core stability. If your core is not stable, you will have a lot of injuries around your core. Second topic is we focus on coordination and agility. And we all do this to prevent injuries. I hope you remember the warming up of Liverpool with Jurgen Klopp, where his physical coach was showing how to do it before they went on the field, but also on the field. So important in the pre-warming up is that you just don't do it to do it, but that you do it on a focused way, and as the physical coach or the coach has explained in detail. We took out 2 simple exercises just to show you that injury prevention, that pre-warming up is essential in modern football. To give you an example that you know, in Shanghai, I spoke with one of the teammates who is still playing in Chengdu Luneng, one of the teammates of my friend Marwan Fellaini. I don't say his name because that's not important, but he told me that Marwan, when he came to Chengdu Luneng, he was always the first to go to the gym to work with his body to prevent him for injuries. And a lot of Chinese players took over his habits, went to the physical coach, did a test, and now also start to do this pre-warming up, this injury prevention, this individual plan in the training. So please learn this to your boys and girls from the moment they are around 12 years old. And then we go to the real warming up. The pre-warming up you can do inside or outside, depending on the temperature and depending on the weather. Also, a lot of players, before they go on training, they start to cycle 10 to 15 minutes to prepare the heart and the lungs for the next activities. So why do you do the warming up? First of all, you have to prepare your body for the training, your agility and your heart-lung function. Take care that you especially focus on physical and age-related. When you are in puberty, it's very important to work on agility and power. And if possible, you also integrate the topic of the training in this part. So, if you look to the warming up, it's important that you do a rhythmical warming up. Why do we do this and why very special for Chinese football? But with this rhythmic warming up, you focus on 4 important topics, 4 important pillars. If you look to the warming up of Liverpool, you saw the focus on agility, coordination, rhythm, don't forget rhythm, and don't forget the neuromotorical development of the player. So here we start with focusing, and here we start to bring a relation between the brain and your movements. To give you some suggestions for warming up, we took 4 points. Sometimes when the players are ready, you can also leave the warming up to a player, and you can change the player who leads the warming up. I sometimes do this to deduct the leaders in the group. And why do we do it? Again, the same question. Why? Because we want to stimulate attention, communication, which is important in our topic, and interaction, which is also important in our topic. An additional element in the warming up and in the rhythm and in the neuromotorical development is music. And in order to inspire your players, you can use the music that they like with different rhythms. Even later on in the cooling down, you can use some relaxing music to do the stretching. And if possible, after a pre-warming up and a general warming up, always integrate the ball or 7 balls from different sizes in your warming up. Because here we refer to our first lesson, joy, fun, join football. Use your creativity to stimulate your players. We have been saying enough. Now we want to show you kind of an example of a warming up without the ball. What do you see? You see that the movements, the agility, the rhythm, the neuroreduction, the neurotransmitters are really encouraged here. And you see the relation between the coordination of eye, hand and feet. If you look to Brazil, you will always find this kind of warming up. And you know that good football players like to dance. This is already an example of dancing, focusing, and relation to football. We have a look further on. Meanwhile, everybody try to do the same in front of his computer. What is important is also the communication what you see between the players. So if you look to the fourth pillar, the mental pillar, you see that they start to be on one line, they have to be focused and to follow the same rhythm, everybody together. It creates a fantastic group feeling, it creates the ability to go to the training. And if you say to your players, tomorrow somebody else need to prepare with his music, they are challenged to be the best. Here you challenge them to be the best. Here you challenge them to be creative. Here you challenge them to be flexible. Okay, you can start again to dance in front of your computer. Meanwhile, you see that you're using all the parts of the body. And what do you see in organization? The teams are already divided in the right colors, so you don't lose any time when you go to the next step, the orientation phase. We show you one more minute before we go to the orientation phase. So as you can see, you can make a lot of variations on agility, rhythm, everything you need to be a football player. So just to emphasize on it, I wanted to show you that it's very important, the warming up and everything around. That's why we took so much time to give you some suggestions. Please use them, try it, join them. It's all about fun and preparing the body. As you know, the topic of the training is compact and dynamic block and transition. But when we deduct, you need to go to the one against one before you can make a dynamic compact block. So in this orientation phase, we made a carousel exercise. So what does it mean? It are 3 exercises at the same time, and after 1 or 2 or 3 minutes, it depends, the players are changing and go to the next grid. So they rotate in 3 kind of movements, what I will explain now step by step. In the first block, they learn to the body movement, they learn to defend the right body movement in the one against one. In the second block, we are organizing or we are demonstrating or we are exercising how you can do the interception. And in the third variation, we shift to the next step, the shift and the communication in the block. There we learn them to keep the distance, to focus on the ball and the other player, and to focus on the ball and the opponents. So you see, first variation, simple, and step by step it becomes more and more difficult. So we have a progressive, reality-based orientation phase. First exercise is very simple. Player number A is starting with the ball. I want that he starts with speed to B, and B is doing a pre-movement to release himself from his opponent. At that moment, the third player, the defender, C, is ready to defend his goal. And then A is going to B, B is going to C, and we continue in organization. So you see over here what is happening. So I will repeat. First, body movement. How we learn them to defend one against one. But that we will explain later on or in the next lesson, where we really go in detail on the defensive and offensive one against one. And as I explained you, C is more a passive defender. I go to the next step. In this step, A is coming again with the ball. B is releasing and start to intercept the ball at the right moment. Because he has the opponent here, number 9. And now I will explain you step by step the principles of interception. First principle, never intercept on a diagonal played ball. Because when your opponent is smart, he just block you out, he turn, and you are lost in the desert. Second phase of interception, you have to lose, as I told you, the contact with the attacker. He can't feel you, and then you are free. Because when he feel you, he can block you out with his arms, with his body. You need to be free. At the moment you are free, you need to have a quick reaction. You need to read the game. It's called timing. And you need to be focused. So until now, we learned them two important things. Body position in the defensive one against one. Second, the principles of interception in the one against one. And we especially focus on the defender who is passive in order to learn them to train the interception. And later on, we can even work with almost an active defender to learn them the right moment of being free. Later on in the next lesson, we will show you examples of China and some other competition of interception and body position. But please remind these principles. So we learn body position, we learn the interception, and now we learn them how to work together in order to shift and to communicate in the block. And we start to do this in an effective way. As you can see here, they play from one to another, and the other players have to move from left to right, front and back. So it's very, very important to learn them how to move, to learn their body position, and to shift from left to right and front and back. Even with professional players, I sometimes use different colors as cones. And then I said to them blue, and then they knew they have to go to the blue cone and to shift to the blue cone. As a coach here, it is important to focus on the distance between your defenders, on the communication, and on the line of the defenders. Okay? This was the explanation I've been giving. And now we go to the next step, the learn phase. In the learn phase, you see that we are working with an additional number 6. You also see that we are working with an additional number 8. And you also see that we are working on the right positioning. Remember the grids from Pep Guardiola on the field. You see that the defenders, the block, the dynamic compact block, is a numerical advantage regarding the attackers in red. So you have a goalkeeper, 4 defenders and 2 midfield players. In the other team, you have 1 connecting midfield player, you have 1 defensive midfield player, and you have 3 strikers, 2 wingers, 7, 11, 9, and then the number 10 is the supporting player, the connecting player. Here you find the explanation what I did. The goalkeeper, 6 black, 5 red, are in number 8 always start with the ball. And you see here, if black can score 3 passes, they get 2 points. In this way we really provoke the transition. A suggestion, one coach is focusing on the defense and the other coach is focusing on the offensive movements. So what we used in the first phase, orientation phase, you use the 3 principles, what we need in this learn phase. The moment you feel that the players start to understand and start to practice what you want, you can go to the next phase, the game phase. As you can see here, we are working on half a field. We are working with the same people. That means, again, the 4 defenders and the defensive midfield players. And now we have a total game, and we go step by step from numerical advantage to numerical equality. But the principles where we started, they stay the same. We have to shift from left to right, we have to shift from back to front, and we have to stay close and compact together. You see that the organization doesn't change, so we are always working with the same focus on the same topic. And within this topic, we can make some progressive building up. The only things we change is the distance of the field, the players with more players or less players, and instead of using small goals, we use here 2 normal goals. So, as you can see here, we go step by step from the goalkeeper and 8 black against 7 red. We go to the goalkeeper, 8 black and 8 red. Again, it's very important that the 2 coaches are coaching separate teams. One the defensive team, one more the offensive team. You don't stop a training like this. You always have to do the last step, the cooling down. So, as you can see, in a cooling down, you can have a lot of exercises. I give you some exercises what you can use in the future. What I often did was, at the end, a crosses challenge. That means you always work with 2 players. One player is standing in the circle in the middle with the ball. Another player is standing outside of the 16 meter on the side. What they should do is, the player in the middle kicks the ball away from the ground directly to his teammate on one of the sides, left or right from the box. There this player have 1 control, so 1 touch, and then he has to cross to the player who is coming from the middle. And if the player who is coming from the middle can score in 1 touch without touching the ground, that means with the head or with the feet, they have a point. And the same as this, I have a lot of other exercises with penalties, with striking exercise, and so on, and so on, and so on. But that is better to show on the field when I come and visit you and I give you some ideas. To end up this lesson, I just start with a small introduction of the 1 against 1. As you saw, we focused a lot today only on this training example, because we want to show you in our general tactical principles that in all these principles you can make a lot of trainings. But as you saw in the beginning, the 1 against 1 is the base of everything. And the 1 against 1 is not only offensive, but is also defensive, as I showed in the training. And again, it's based on 4 important pillars that you already know and who are linked to each other. It is based on physicality, it is based on the tactical element, it is based on the mental element, and at last but not least, and maybe the most important for me, is the technical element. And again here we end our lesson as we started. In the deductive methodology from last lesson, we saw the same 4 important pillars. We always ask ourselves the same questions. We always follow the same road of organization and of philosophy. And as first step, if we can change the 1 against 1 in China, we start like a rocket. A rocket that goes to the backside of the moon and that can lead us to the great victory that we can achieve in football. And the positive message we want to give you is very clear. Believe in yourself. Enjoy football. Follow the principles and be creative and flexible with these principles. Then you are constructing a perfect way of working for yourself as a coach. You are constructing a process for yourself, and you are constructing a new process for Chinese football for the future. So next lesson, 1 against 1 as the basic element for our red print. Me and Roy, we wanted to thank you for your attention. We want to thank everybody who helped us to achieve this together, because that's important, to achieve something together. Thank you, Cfa. See you next.